I'm going to turn it over to Chuck.
Good afternoon, everyone. The first update we have is new membership. We would like to welcome the following new members. Tony Clate, BOMA Nevada Credit Union. Lori Courtney from Harborough. Hillary Clough, Cushman and Wakefield. Gita Mason from Intertech. Devin Zadara from Lawyer Mechanical Services. Welcome again, all new members. The next update is the 2020 Toby Awards Gala is scheduled for Saturday, January 30th, 2021 at the JD Marriott. Property managers, we are now accepting entries. And due to the current crisis, entry fees for this year have been waived. The Toby Committee is holding a Name Your Toby contest for this year's theme. If your idea is selected, you will receive 2 tickets to the ceremony. And we're excited to announce that Chris McGarry is this year's Leadership Award recipient. The last update that I have makes me very proud. BOMA Nevada recently gave back to our local community by donating a check of $7,500 to the Salvation Army of Southern Nevada. The Salvation Army of Southern Nevada shelters and provides meals for hundreds of homeless every day. Locally, they are also helping with COVID supplies and medical beds to assist in the crisis. We encourage our members to help support this great organization. We also wanted to highlight another great organization for you to consider to donate. Helping Hands of Vegas Valley is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with the mission to provide free assistive services to senior citizens in Southern Nevada. These services include food pantry, senior transportation services, and much more. And now I'd like to introduce Owen Kelvin, our Programs Committee Chair. Let's get this started. Thank you, Owen.
And welcome to everyone joining us. We're grateful to have 4 fabulous panelists to discuss leading in crisis. They include Carol Klein-Ong, Lindsay Sears, Farrah Carr, and Aaron Murray. Carol Klein-Ong is the CEO and co-founder of MDL Group, which has provided exceptional brokerage and property management services to their clients in the Las Vegas Valley since 1989. Along with Carol's down-to-earth approach and unwavering integrity, she is committed to MDL Group's continual growth and success for years to come. Carol was also a recipient of the BOMA Leadership Award and is the current president of Crew Las Vegas. Lindsay Sears is the director of property management at SVN, the Equity Group. She's been active in the property management industry for over 12 years, managing nearly 12 million square feet during her career. Now as a director of property management, she's responsible for a team of 5 property managers, as well as administrative staff and accounting staff, which currently manages over 10 million square feet. Farrah Carr is the business development manager for ATI, American Technologies, since 2009, and in the commercial real estate industry since 2005. She has lived in Las Vegas since 1992. And finally, Aaron Murray is the regional manager for ATI and has been with them since 2009 and in Las Vegas since 2000. He's been in general contracting, environmental, and restoration industry for more than 17 years. Once again, we're grateful and delighted to have all of you here to discuss leading in crisis. I think we can all agree it's been a crazy 7 weeks, so we're eager to hear your professional perspectives on this topic. So with that being said, question 1 is going to go to Team ATI. So there's a lot of information on social media and news regarding COVID-19. What are some of the common misconceptions, and can you set the record straight?
Sure, thank you, Owen. We're delighted to be a part of this panel today. A couple that I wanted to mention, being out in the sun or hot temperatures will help. Actually, that's not true. According to the World Health Organization, you can contract the virus no matter the temperature. Another common misconception is that mainly people that are elderly and those with underlying health conditions are the ones that suffer the most from it. And while they have a tendency to have the more severe cases, people of any age and race can contract coronavirus. The good news is you can recover. There are many, many people that are currently recovering, and that is positive, exciting news. Aaron?
Yeah, thank you, BOMA Nevada, for allowing me to participate in today's event. I think the situation has become very polarizing with the media. I think if you're on one side watching Fox News and then on the other side watching CNN, you can get lost vastly in the middle there. You know, depending on what media you subscribe to is definitely going to influence on your thought process. One of the misconceptions I'd say first would be, kind of a pun would be, don't drink disinfectant. I don't think that would be a wise decision for anybody to do that they've seen the news lately. But I think, you know, a misconception that I can think of right off the top of my head is that when, as we unfold through this program and others talk about their cleaning and disinfecting process is thinking that, okay, I've disinfected and now I'm done. That would be a misconception. This is a fight that's going to go on for a period of time until this pandemic subsides, certainly, or there becomes a process in place that allows whatever you're doing as a building owner to provide the maintenance program that lessens this pandemic to your building. So I think a one and done approach is a misconception, and I think having a plan in place as we unfold in this program is going to be very beneficial to those on the call.
Thank you very much. That was very insightful. The next question is for Carol Klein and Lindsay Sears, of course. We'll start with Carol. How has COVID-19 affected the way you do business?
First of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this. It's a pleasure. How's it affected us in the short term? It's affected nearly everything. The awareness of the financial, physical, and emotional impact came pretty much immediately for us. As with you guys, our business is also essential. We've tried to find levity where we can. And if you come into our office, the first thing you'll notice is our lobby. It looks like every kid's future couch camp out dream. So that affects your business. We have furniture and tables being used for barricades. We have signs in 2 languages. That didn't quite do it. But what did do it when you walk in is we created this huge red sign that visually and mentally caused everybody to pause. That did it. Our brokerage activities, when you again talk about our business, the client interactions, our check-ins were monthly. Now they're being accelerated to at least weekly. Showing space, we're probably like a lot of you, we're doing them virtually in many, many areas of the city. Or if we need to go and do it face-to-face, we go early, we open it up, and we really make sure that we're practicing the distancing. It's important not only for us, but for the guests. Staying connected with our clients, genuinely understanding what they're thinking and reassessing what their possible short-term new business models might be allows us to provide factual information versus fear-based energy that is not productive. We talked about the visual showings. The other thing we've seen that's doing in our business is it's allowing people to continue with their due diligence of relocating to Las Vegas with not having to get the additional stress of jumping on a plane, whether you're just traveling across town. So that's helping. But we do suspect that these types of activities are going to stick around, the virtual interaction. Mortgage agreements, again, another thing with the way it's affected our business. How do we look at those? How do we interface on the accounting with our clients? One of the very first things we did was review the reserve funds and the ACH timelines that our clients are adhering to. And we were on the phone with our landlords. Temporary discontinuance of their monthly distributions. So it's not just our business, it's their business too. That temporary discontinuance of owner monthly distributions, and I think Lindsay will be able to weigh in on this, it really got the conversation going quickly and it became very real. these conversations then allowed us to interface with the tenants that were already calling to say, what are you going to be able to do? What's the deferred plans look like? Tracking the reduction of rents is a new way of doing business for right now. Just by way of some references, right now through April, we believe in the industry, we're all down about 18%. Next year, I suspect it'll be about 30. That's a big effect for all of us. And again, more importantly, for our landlords and our vendors. Everybody gets affected by this. So I'll stop there and pass it on over to my peer, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. And thank you, Owen, for having me. Hi, everybody. I've definitely experienced this a few times in my life. Grown up with 9/11, grew up in 2008, the height of my career dealing with REOs and receiverships. And I think for a lot of our generation, you know, I call it more of the adapting generation, the millennials, we have learned how to adapt to this quicker rather than later. And we've seen this before and we know how to do it again. But I do think, you know, the impact right now that we face is, number one, of course, we're at home. I'm happy to talk to you guys through a screen. I don't get to have the face-to-face time with my team members, my staff, my other senior leadership, and clients. And I think for a lot of people in our positions, we're used to the entertainment side. We enjoy going to have cocktails or dinner or anything else with our clients. And now it's through a screen, which is going to be an adaptation and take some time to get used to, unfortunately. But it also helps us utilize more cost savings programs in other areas of office rentals, or, you know, again, spending on that type of entertainment that you were doing before. We're learning the new norm of interaction with each other. As I tell my managers, it's a double-edged sword, right? We are all on an all hands on deck approach. We are working timelessly, day in and day out, 7 a.m. in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. And we're calming down our tenants, calming down our owners, calming down our vendors, letting them know that we're going to all get through this together. But in the same respect, I always look at the uncomfortable side of things as only a benefit to us. And, you know, with uncomfortability comes growth and change. And now our managers are able to look at their buildings as an ownership perspective. Like Carol said, utilizing cost, analysis, make sure that all of our vendors are reduced down as much as possible. And looking at each asset, and we have, 80 to 90 of them just in my brokerage alone, looking at each individual asset as their own little project to be able to analyze how to save money, how to get the most out of that property. And that makes you not only a property manager, but think as an owner. So I think, of course, it's going to be a change, but with change comes, a grateful time where managers can only increase their current jobs and learn from this in the future.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. All right, so we are now going to go back to Team ATI. What are the bare minimum proactive steps property managers and building owners can take to help prevent the spread of COVID-19? And are there current prevention practices that you would argue are maybe too drastic? If so, what are they?
We would definitely say, as Erin was referencing before, it's so important to have a plan, have your strategies and your vendors in place and your requirements of what you're going to do going forward to protect your team and your clients, et cetera. You want to, of course, be, when we do go back eventually, reconfiguring the office to accommodate social distancing. Carol mentioned posting a sign of what it takes to enter, posting requirements of facial coverings and possibly thinking of providing that. But one of the most important things from our perspective too is maintaining a healthy building environment. This could include from the beginning doing a deep clean and or disinfection, and then having a timeline of how you're going to do that periodically for touch points, for high traffic areas, and even considering disinfecting equipment that comes back into the workspace at some point from people that have been working remotely throughout this process. And also just reminding them that there are ways to do it with technology, and thank God for technology. It is much more of a challenge. And as Lindsay said, we do want to be in person But thank goodness that we have it, and everyone's making the most of it, and that it's really great to have. Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important to have a plan. Our city, our country is in the midst of planning a great reopening right now, and some have already begun. I think oftentimes we take things for granted of the cleanliness of our buildings and our workstations. Oftentimes we look at it nightly or weekly and go, well, did my trash can get empty? Did my custodial company do their job? I think we need to become more engaged with their process and become a better partner with what it is that they're performing for us. What type of product are they using? What areas are they focusing on? The day-to-day or what they were normally used to is fine, but now we've got to pay much more attention to the high touch points of a business setting. Workstations, certainly doors, restrooms, anything that you can think of. You have to take it as a common sense approach to what areas are being touched often. And those are the types of things that you and your custodial janitorial company should be engaged in and having a discussion. And what's the frequency? Or if you're used to a nightly service, that's a great step. If you're used to a weekly, well, you might want to consider, depending on the traffic inside your building, increasing that frequency. What are the products that they're using? Is it effective on what we're trying to treat right now and combat? All those things that need to be taken a look at. And also in the back of my mind, as this progresses and begins to reopen, is somewhere out there is that OSHA is going to weigh in on many of these things. So as employers, we have to be aware of what's OSHA's stance in all of this. How are we protecting our employees and making sure that we don't get in the crosshairs of OSHA and violate some sort of regulation that they've set forth. So if you're looking at all this and being a planning stage, but the planning stage eventually has to end and you need to enact. And I think that's what we're seeing now as a community, as the planning stages is going to begin to conclude, and we'll start to see what that process, how that unfolds.
Thank you. All right, so we will go back to Lindsay and Carol. This is a two-part question. We'll start with Lindsay this time. How has this pandemic impacted the way you interact with your team members? And what are the principles of leadership you're most focused on at this time?
I think tremendously, of course, now more than ever, this has, affected the way that we are. Where I am as the director of property management, I have to be the leader. I have to be a beacon to my managers and my administrators to make sure that they are able to utilize what they need day in and day out and have the tools that are able to help them succeed. When everything started happening, I think a lot of corporations had more people to lean on, like myself and Carol. We're a small family-owned and run company where we have to utilize and create these decisions by ourselves. We don't have anybody else to go to. So once the close started happening pretty right away, I was in the face of my other senior leadership people saying, we have to close down. We have to start making this move as soon as possible. We need to send our rent statements out to our tenants. We have to get in front of this. So some of the things that I did just to be able to help my managers was, every correspondence, every letter, every rent statement, to vendors, tenants, or even owners, my cell phone number was on there. I have received hundreds of tenant requests and phone calls from, a local mom and pop smoke shop to a Capriati's, and being able to kind of talk through their decision or their situation, what they need, what kind of help is out there for them, and being able to filter that through. Because my job is not a one-type job. My job is to help my people in my office and make sure that I can help process all of that. So, that definitely allowed me to open my doors. And I've always been that way with my girls as much as I can, to just be there for them and help them in any way possible, whether it's completing a CAM reconciliation, doing a budget, calling a vendor and reporting an HVAC that's out, just whatever I can do to help in the current situation. And like I said, sorry, my phone, I'm getting a phone call. Principles of leadership. I've read many different types of, there's principles out there. I can just reference a book that I've recently read that goes to 7 principles of leadership. And one of them is unity through a team. And that's where, once again, I said earlier, I've done everything I can to help my team and assist them as much as possible. I'm only as strong as my other members and my other managers and administrative staff and accountants, and being able to step out of my comfort zone, work day in and day out to make their jobs easier, can only make my job easier in the long run. And unfortunately, as Farah did touch on, we don't get to be next to each other. We don't get to be around each other. We have to use Google Meets and Microsoft Teams and everything else that's out there. And thank goodness we have that. And just being able to stay on top of those, situations and just being here to help. Every day there's some type of new situation with a tenant threatening legal because they keep calling them over and over again for rent, or an owner who's having a hard time, refinancing their mortgage or getting a deferred rent payment. It's an evolving process. We really don't know right now. So as leaders, we can only be there to help and report back any new information that we get. But it's new uncharted waters for us. We're learning as we go.
Thank you. Carol, you're next.
Thank you. And to piggyback on something Lindsay just said, navigating these uncharted waters is not for the weak at heart, to be sure. With our team members, we believe that communication here has really been key. Replacing negativism and fear-filled thoughts with facts has been very strategic and fruitful. Hey, we're scared. They're scared. But to Lindsay's point, it's up to us to be the beacon. I could not have put that better. Thank you, Lindsay. Understanding that the disruption in their personal lives and the desire for all of them to conduct their professional duties along with what now has been added to them is pretty huge. Just, think of this. Immediately, they're promoted to a principal, a teacher, a hall monitor, lunch lady, after school safe key director, and now on top of that, they get to do everything that they're supposed to do because we have arranged to have them have access remotely. That's a lot of pressure for all of them. So what we've tried to do is to make sure we have levity. Just like you guys, we have our little happy hour Zoom calls. And we know it's not normal. And we know they're giving us everything they can. And for us, giving us everything they can is, we don't question that, and we appreciate it, and we remind them to be transparent, communicate things that they discover along the way, things that are working both at home, not only at home working with work stuff, but at home dealing with home stuff. We'll be on a Zoom call and a kid will come running across, or a dog will come crumbing across, or you'll hear a crash and it, a little profanity in the background. That's life, and so it gives us levity there as well. When we set up the virtual working from home, it was important that we immediately got our IT people involved. They have a lot to deal with working at home. About 70% of our staff are at home, and the remainder are here because we do remain open and we have to stagger. But if they're having an issue, we want them to know immediately, it's okay. If you're having an issue, somebody else is. Let's talk about it. And it's amazing the resilience of the people in this industry and the things that they can do just themselves to say, this didn't work, let me try that. And then they get on the phone with one another or on a Zoom call and say, hey, guess what I just figured out? And guess what might be the new norm? It's exciting. So we're embracing that. Our daily check-ins, our units check in with each other. Again, to Lindsay's point, it's really important, that connection. We talk about distancing. And I'm going to share something that I heard on a podcast, and it was by a psychologist, Esther Perez. And she said, this social distancing is not it. It's physical distancing. And you know what? She's right. Because we have to physically be distanced, but we have to be socially connected now more than ever. Our teammates need us. Our landlords need us. Our clients on the brokerage side, our tenants and our vendors, we're their lifeline. And we can do this. Our town is resilient. I have been now through 4 very significant financial impacting events in my almost 35 years in this industry anyway. And the reality is it will be different and we will get through it. I remember when we went to the airport in TSA, oh my goodness, did I have to practice patience? Now we just go there and we do it. So when we talk about our team members and we talk about how we as leaders are going to be different, but we are going to do it together. We don't have to have all the answers. Collectively, the people that we work with, and for me, I'll speak, people around me are way smarter than I am, and they make a huge difference. So that's what we're doing. Operational meetings, we have Zoom meetings, we have powwows, but we make sure we remind each other at least 6 feet. We still have lunch together. Everybody has their own table. It's intimate from afar. That's what we're doing right now.
Thank you so much. I like how you talked about that it's physical distancing and not social distancing, and how important connection is, especially right now. So with that, we're going to go to our next question. This is going to be for everyone, actually. So governments and the news continue to talk about reopening plans and folks going back to work. Carol, from a property manager perspective, what is the government's role? How do you see the reopening plan rolling out? And for example, what happens with tenants who haven't paid rent in 2 months?
Okay, that's a 3-part question. The first thing, my personal belief in the government's role is health always before wealth. Right now, as of today, 219 people in the state of Nevada have died. In the United States, 56,876. I personally know of 3 people in our community that have gone through the coronavirus. They've gotten through it. They're doing better. One is still struggling with some lung issues. But I can tell you, if one of my loved ones was one of those 219, I would not want to be saying, why aren't we open already? Having said that, it needs to be sooner than later, no question. So keeping in mind health versus wealth, and then slowly opening up. And if people will really practice the distancing, maybe I'm fine, but if I don't wear my mask and my gloves, then I'm not giving the consideration and the due respect to the people that I'm around. This weekend I was at I went to a nursery, and I was blown away by the fact of the people that were there, and maybe 20% only had masks and gloves. That included the employees. That was very alarming to me. So when we talk about how we're going to open up, we really have to take a step back. Who are those 290 people that passed? They're somebody's loved ones, so we have to be careful with that. As it relates to the tenants, we have very proactive and compassionate and caring landlords within our portfolios, and they have put into place initial strategies so that the tenants can wrap their head around that. Now those things may change, but we all know if we have structure and we have a game plan and we know what the roadmap is, we can better navigate these charter waters that they're also navigating. So it will be slow. We're seeing deferred rent. We're not seeing abated. For some, your national companies, your franchisors and franchisees, there's opportunities for them. So we want to know what those things are as well. What are they doing as far as the government provided programs to try to help themselves? That all comes into play with these conversations with our tenants and the deferment. And again, landlords want them to be there. They don't want empty spaces. Retail has been hit harder than any of the other industry types. I mean, I know, you know, that's definitely not a news flash. However, we know that the impact is great. So how we can help our landlords say, you know, here's some options. And I have to say this, within our industry, I have to send a huge thank you out to all of you in the property management and brokerage arena, because we don't have all the answers. But I can tell you, we can pick up the phone, we can call one another, I don't care how competitive we are, and we get answers as to, well, here's some things we're hearing, here's what we're considering, here's what didn't work, here's some additional lease language that might be considered. So that has been hugely helpful, and it helps all of us. It helps our Las Vegas, Southern Nevada community. Lindsay, over to you.
That is fantastic. Lindsay, I think temporarily lost some service, so we are going to go to ATI. We're going to go to The question of what cleaning and precautions need to be taken into consideration for the safety of staff and the community when it pertains to reopening.
Thank you, Owen. There are several considerations, and one of the main ones is if and how long has a building been vacant. If it has been vacant or closed for quite some time, then your cleaning and disinfection program is going to be different than if you've had people in working intermittently at a safe physical distance, et cetera. So those are things that you want to consider. Have maintenance personnel been in, and so forth? Then you want to work directly with your company and make sure that they, like Aaron referred to, are utilizing the correct cleaning products that are approved and effective for this certain virus. And then also you want to make sure that they are donning and doffing the PPE correctly, because this is a concern. You want to avoid cross-contamination when you're going from one suite to another, from one building to another. So you want to really make sure that you have a plan and a good understanding of how your vendor works and the details that they utilize when cleaning and disinfecting your property. Carol mentioned before posting signage for requirements to entry. That's to help protect staff and anyone that is in your space. And again, just maintaining a healthy building environment and office environment, making sure that those touch points and high traffic areas are addressed often. And then again, I'll mention the cleaning and disinfection of work equipment that's coming back into the space prior to re-entering. You could also post your requirements for facial coverings and provide them if you think necessary. I know a lot of buildings have started screening before people go back in. That is an extreme case. However, a lot of the casinos are putting that into practice already. And there are many, many ways that we can maintain a healthy office environment. You know, putting the tape on the floor, making sure that the office spaces are 6 feet away, but making sure that the disinfecting is on an ongoing basis and done periodically is going to go great distances, especially depending on the occupancy that is in, whether it be retail, office, or the like. And we are all adapting to this new norm as it's very fluid, as everyone has been saying. Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I think from my perspective, a common theme is going to be have a plan, right? So by having a plan, it allows you to have a process in place to prevent these issues from getting out of control and keep things minimized. What are we looking at? Well, as we begin to reopen, you know, things we need to consider from a precautionary standpoint is, do I need to have PPE on hand in my office? Do I need to supply that to our people that reoccupy our buildings? And in this environment that we're in, we look at it from two sides. Right now, as part of a reopening, we're looking at it as a very proactive approach. Well, where we've been in the last couple of months and where we hope we don't go, but we need to look at, is a reactive situation. Being proactive and disinfecting a building that's about to reopen and doing some heavier spring cleaning, if you will, that's great, and that's the right thing to do. But have a plan in place as you allow, or we allow employees to come back to work. Well, what if they come in sick? What if there's an issue? What if there's a hot spot? Now we're in a reactive situation, and you got to have a partner in place that can respond to those types of issues for you to minimize that impact, that we don't create the hysteria that could ensue after the fact. So again, I will continue to beat the drum of having a plan. There's a lot of good people in town that can partner with you to help you through this, and you know, reaching out to them and understanding their process and the procedure would be great time spent as we look to move forward. And the most important thing that I've heard today, and the most impactful, is that we're all going through this for the first time, and we're learning together, and through trial and error, we'll figure it out. So, but thank you for again for allowing me to be a part of this.
Well, thank you. And Lindsay, did you have any thoughts on the reopening process?
Yeah, I unfortunately missed what Carol said. Like I said, I dropped service. My audio is not that great on my laptop, unfortunately. So hopefully you guys can all hear me. You know, I think the end of the day, we just have to look to the government programs as assistance, the PPP programs, the SBA programs. There are so many things out there to help utilize for our tenants and even for us as business owners. So, you know, when we're going to get to go back, we don't know. What the new norm is going to look like, we don't know. This is all, like Erin said, uncharted waters and unfamiliar to us. But in the interim, we just have to lean on those different types of programs, be there for our tenants, be there for our clients, and make sure as business owners that we are protected with PPP, making sure that we have everything we need, the sanitizer, the equipment to be able to open our doors, allow other patrons and vendors to enter in and hopefully not bring anything and infect us. It's a learning situation for all of us that we just have to continue to lean onto each other, investigate it. And luckily, there are so many programs out there to help give us some temporary relief while we go through this.
Thank you very much. So we have about 20 minutes left, 4 questions that I'm going to go through. And then once again, we're going to have questions from the audience. So if you have a question, go to the question and answer box at the bottom of the screen and you can enter in a question and I will try to get to it once we're all through. So the next question actually is for you, Lindsay. What do you think is the biggest positive thing from what is happening right now with the pandemic? And then Carol, your response after.
I mean, like I said previously, I think a lot of us are opening our eyes to realizing that we can work remotely. I grew up in when I was working, I always had to be behind a screen, an 8-to-5 job, make sure I punched in and punched out and was available during those times. I think now we're realizing that there's so many other ways to utilize our time, ways to work while we travel, ways to be available, for clients that are in another country and on another time zone. So there's so many things that we can learn from this and grow from this and bring with us towards our future. And as well, like I touched on earlier, just being there for each other and knowing that there's still a way to touch base with people, regardless of whether they're in the office or they're not. We're learning different sides of our people that we probably didn't even know existed because we're able to have that, touch base and that touch in, and the things that you're not able to do when your managers are working 12-hour days doing property inspections and move outs and move ins and everything else behind it. Where now, it opens up those doors as I can pick up my phone and FaceTime one of my managers and just see how she's doing and check in with her for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Carol, what do you think?
Well, I want to take one little step back. When we talk about what's going on, we always try to find the nuggets, the learning, the practices that make us better. And one of the biggest ahas that I personally realized was when I was talking to the tenants and trying to determine what deferred opportunities are there, I really didn't give enough attention to who their customers were, who was their end user, what effect did this have on them. So we all in our company are looking at things through different lenses altogether. It's not just about I can't pay rent. It's why can't I pay rent, and opportunities to maybe bob and weave. So I needed to make that that little statement. The other thing is this pandemic has reminded us how resilient we really are. We can create many innovative ways of continuing with the services we offer, and that we are as a community in this together. Our shared industry thoughts, we spoke of that a moment ago, and actions we put in play are serving all of us. Not everything has to be different. It has to be short-term different. However, a lot of what we have always done is spot on and great and will continue. The innovative things of how we do things different, better, more innovative, those will come to the surface very quickly. We talked about the visualization of seeing spaces, how we greet tenants. I think some of this is going to go back a little bit. I want the huggy days and the shaking of hand days. However, I also know that we will address this going forward and seeing things a lot more sterile, if you will. And that's probably okay. Just to not forget who we are and really what we're here to do. We are a relationship service-oriented industry.
Thank you, Carol. And I'm going to have you answer the next question first, which is, what skills are you discovering or learning by stepping out of your comfort zone?
I love that. Actually, I've learned a lot, but I'm going to focus on quickly three things. The first one is, here's a news flash, everybody. You can teach an old dog new tricks. The word Zoom, before March 17th, in my world, that meant, oh gosh, she's on her broom flying around. Who knew this is what Zoom is about? Lesson one. Second, we all have crystal balls. Here's another news flash. They're all broken. We're in this together. And then the third thing is, you know what? This is scary good. It's scary good because we are all in this together. This pandemic, we call this faceless monster, is frightening on every level. And the more frightened you are, the more you want people around you that you respect and love and support. And my last thought on that is lean into it. The results will be impactful, and the results will be either innovative or confirmation that what we're doing is pretty damn good. Replace limited beliefs with why not. When you guys asked me to be on this podcast today, this webinar, I was scared to death. Still am. However, what I will tell you is we have to drink our own Kool-Aid, and from this comes practices of what's yet to be. So lean into it. Limited beliefs out the window. Zoom, put the broom down. It means something new.
Thank you very much. Now, Lindsay, what do you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with a lot of what Carol said. I mean, I think we've all discovered our own internal motivation. We don't, it's so easy to lay in your pajamas all day and take phone calls from your bed and do things that, we've all thought about it. Let's be honest, we're all human beings. And now we're learning that we have to find that internal motivation. We have to get up. And especially with what we're going through, we have that personal side to us. Each one of us are scared. We're scared for ourselves. We're scared for our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents. And it's just it's a scary, unfortunate time right now that we're struggling through. So I have huge admiration for everybody that gets up every day, showers, puts new clothes on, brushes their teeth, puts makeup on. Some of them do. I really don't lately. And drinks a cup of coffee and just does your job and puts all of your personal aside, works a hard day, and just continues to do the best that you can for everybody that's out there. So it's definitely something to be proud of. And this is a moment that we are all growing from, and we'll be able to look back and just be so proud of what we did.
I think so too. I do. Lindsay, what parts of our industry do you think are changed forever?
I think there's going to be numerous changes, unfortunately, with our industry in our future. I touched on 2008. We've all, lived through that, and most property managers and owners that are on the call as well have been through that. It's going to test our time. It's going to test our patience. We're going to be, unfortunately, remarketing spaces, taking back vacancies, dealing with unfortunate tenants who have to walk away from their family-owned restaurants. It's in the news, it's forecasted, we know what's coming our way. And as property managers and on our brokerage side as well, that's where our job becomes very, very difficult. We are dealing with, family-run companies, especially on the retail side. And the forecast right now is between 20 and 30% of our local restaurants are going to be shut down in the next 3 to 6 months. Those are facts. And we're going to have to survive through this next cycle of, unfortunately, a small recession. We don't know how bad it's going to be, but it's definitely going to be an impact, and we're going to have to work through it. And I think on, a personal side of it, this is uncomfortable for all of us. We are having to change our normal day-to-day items. You don't get to just leave the store to go get a stalk of celery because you want to make a stew today. You have to prepare. You have to get your face mask on. You have to wait in a line if some of the stores are only allowing 10 to 25 people in at a time. This is testing all of our comfort levels to a whole nother side that we haven't experienced. And as Carol said, I'm a hugger, I'm a handshaker. You know, I have a lot of clients that kiss on the cheek. That's our industry, that's what we do. And imagining that changing is a bit jarring. It's concerning that we're not going to have that social interaction that we're so used to. And we'll see how it looks, but I do think, you know, for both personal and social in general, people are going to change how they interact with each other. And through this fear, and while we ride through this, it's going to be an adjustment for all of us to get through.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I can agree with a lot of what you just said. So this is going to be our last question, and then we're going to take some questions from the audience. And we'll start with Carol. Are there any books or podcasts you are enjoying during this time, and why?
Thank you. I enjoy reading, and I will tell you, right now I'm reading, it's quite ironic, the name of it is called Essentialism. Kyle Nagy gave me that book, and it's very applicable with the name and what's going on right now. And it really talks about what matters, what should we be doing, where should we be putting our energy and efforts, and why. And that goes back to something that Lindsay spoke on. Our conversations with our tenants, our landlords, are personal, and they're going to get more personal, and they go right to the gut and to the heart. So when we can put our hands on something, which are tools that can put some good information in our head and reprogram some of our thinking, it helps. So that's good. Anything Patrick Lencioni, podcasts, TED Talks. I have to tell you, on podcasts, the self-care things that we can listen to, we can then turn around and pay that forward, which is so vital. Heather Sylvain, although she gets a little colorful with her talk, her messages are amazing, and her podcasts are called Mom is in Control, but it's not about being a mom. It's about being a person. And she talks about so many different things that right now that are very applicable, that affect our business and our home life and beyond. So Simon Sinek, there's so many. I'm really into books, but the Essentialism, which I'm reading right now, is very interesting. And then just a couple of real fun ones is Barbara Walters, her memoirs. You guys should read that book. It's pretty impressive. And I just finished the book Becoming about Michelle Obama. So that kind of takes you to a different level. Then you can kind of check out a little bit and just go there. So self-care, self-talk, great stuff. Put it in, it'll come out.
And Lindsay, what type of podcasts or books are you digging into during this time?
The same, just all self-help books. I have some old favorites, Girl Wash Your Face, some, you know, inspirational books just to kind of read and take my mind off of everything right now. You know, like I said and touched on before, and we all know that this is a scary time for all of us. So whatever you can do to just pull yourself out for 15, 20, 30 minutes and just get away from the muck of what we're dealing with, do it. Grab a book, walk your dog, you know, sit on your porch and just take time to yourself, because you have to care about yourself first to get through this. And, you know, if you don't do that, then you're adding a whole nother level of stress to your life that you already are dealing with currently. So whatever you can do to get out of your mind, whether it's a Netflix binge for a couple hours or whatever to help you calm down, I very, very much agree that at least I try to take between an hour and 2 hours a day to myself, whether that's going for a run, walking my dog, taking a bath, whatever, to stop my mind from spinning. Then I can wake up in the morning refreshed and be able to do it all over again.
Thank you both for that. I personally have been riding a bike recently, which I found very positive, and meditating. So those are my two little things that I've been doing. We're going to go ahead into our questions from the audience. So how do you see vendors being affected in the sense of the business development role as far as going into offices like we used to, or even lunches, et cetera? Do you see our positions being more virtual for the indefinite future right now until things are under control? And whoever wants to answer that can answer that.
I'll jump in real quick. I think for the immediate future, I think that virtual interactions, webinars, teaching, what you call lunch and learns, you can do that. You can still do things. You just have to get creative and innovative. And I believe in the long run, we're going to get back to some of this, and it'll be okay. Lindsay, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Right now it's just still getting the frontage width through the property managers. There have been quite a few business development people that are probably on this call that have, touched base with me daily, weekly, hosted. We played Jeopardy last Friday on a fun little Zoom call just to get, and I think Robert was actually on the call, Carol. He got to jump in for a bit. So just to get our mind away from things and still have that interaction. Vendors are dealing with their own side of it, because if we unfortunately don't collect the money that we're supposed to go ahead and pay them what we're supposed to, it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. So we're all still trying to navigate through that side. But the vendors are awesome. They've been so supportive. I have not felt this much support and strength in a long time. And I can really say most of it is my company and my vendors. They're being awesome. They've worked harder than I've ever seen them work before.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. So to the managers, when you reopen, are you going to limit the number of visitors in your suite? Will vendors be welcomed to visit as often? Also, will your staff be required to wear PPE?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. I think it's going to be an adjustment. I think, Carol and I on the property management and brokerage side of things, we don't know what is going to be rolled out next. We've all watched the news. We're waiting for that phase 1 to hit us so that we can at least start, allowing some type of regularly operations in our offices. But for right now, we don't know. I have this conversation with my senior leadership people almost daily. I want to be able to know that my employees are protected before I open up the doors. If they're sick, how do they get a test to know right away? If they're going to meet somebody, how do they have facial protection to make sure that they're, covered and protected? Sanitizer. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I have not been able to find hand sanitizer. We are running around just trying to have enough because we have a skeleton crew in our office right now too. So it's those things of, we have to have that help first before we even start considering putting our employees, because it's their lives. And if one person picks it up, it can roll to a family of 15. And then we're ultimately responsible at the end of the day. And for visitors, I unfortunately can see this, extending a few months, hopefully not, but just limiting the interaction. Like I said earlier, it's going to be a social change. We're not going to be able to be at our Spotlight Awards that were canceled, or if Toby's were going on right now, we don't get to all be in a room hugging and enjoying each other right now because there's a virus going around. So it's going to be an adjustment, but I do think with time, it will ease back to normal. But in the interim, my first focus is my employees and my staff. And until I can have the necessary help and tools to get them back to work and safe, I am not going to be doing anything.
Thank you. Carol, did you have any thoughts on that? We have time for your response, and then we probably have to close it.
Yes, I do. For us, I believe, first of all, the vendors have been amazing, and we can reach out to any one of them with any questions and get some direction and some guidelines. And less is more right now. We have to remember our staff, their stress level is through the roof. No matter how often we tell them about the facts, they're afraid, and the fear is real. So if they have to deal with one more thing, it really could be that one more thing that really puts them over the edge. So while we're grateful and we want our wonderful valued vendors in this valley, and also peers and on the brokerage side as well, say hello, check in. if we say not now, don't be offended, because there will be a now. It's just not now. And on the flip side of that, whatever we can do as property managers and brokers for the vendors and each other, let us know, because we are in this together, and we're going to be through this sooner than later. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and rainbows are everywhere.
Thank you very much. And I've been given the okay to ask one more question. I thought we were short on time. So Carol and Lindsay, due to the lack of rents coming in, how are you handling management fees during the pandemic, since you are just as busy?
For us, we have been very blessed that our landlords are very aware that we're working 20 hours a day, and we have not had one say we need to reduce your fees. Having said that, I'm identifying at least 2 of my clients that we are going to consider approaching them and saying, you know what, we're in this together. Let's take a mutual hit and breathe through this. And that's where we're at.
Thank you. And Lindsay?
Yeah, I mean, same on my end. I have not had a client come to me yet requesting a reduction. I have let my managers know, to be able to explain that we're working harder than we ever have before. We're utilizing cost savings by possibly not having a porter at a property 5 days a week if the whole center is shut down, or lowering our trash services to make sure that we save a couple $1,000s that month. So we're making sure that all the other costs are utilized and safe. Why would we unfortunately have to take a hit? Because that's how we pay our bills. Our company still has to keep our lights on, our employees paid, and move through this as well. So, property management agreements have a minimum. They have percentages. They have the opportunity for this to happen and the protection of this, and having to justify our way of what we do is a bit uncomfortable. So hopefully, through, if any other manager is out there struggling with that, right now and trying to navigate through those waters, it's explaining that you're going above and beyond. You're working 12, 13, 14-hour days. And like Carol said, you may have 3 little children in the background while you're doing all of that. So to lower down your fees, just due to this situation, we've lowered down every other cost to make sure that we can give you that savings. So I've stood pretty strong on that in my office. It's been a constant conversation, but so far so good.
Great, thank you very, very much. All right, I want to thank all of the panelists. It's been a pleasure. I definitely got a lot of information from our discussion today. I'm going to turn it back over to Tina.
Thank you, Owen, for being our moderator today. And thank you to Carol and Lindsay and Sarah and Erin. I really appreciate you giving your time today to everyone. It's been very insightful. So I'm going to do a couple of things before we wrap up today. One, I'm just going to remind all of our membership to please check our BOMA Nevada website. We have very crucial information that's on there. We have the COVID-19 resources are still listed. And then as we are getting back to or returning to work, we'll start putting that information on there to make it available to everyone. In the meantime, if you have a question as a manager, we also do have the manager forum on the BOMA website. Please feel free to post a question on there. We do monitor it, and we'll get back some information to you as quickly as we can. We're just trying to make sure that we're a helpful resource to all of you. I also want to remind managers, we talked a lot about that in our conversation today. Please use your BOMA vendors, partner with them. They are a great resource for you. If you're trying to put together a return to work plan, look for them. If you're looking for PPE resources, look for them. They are definitely there to help and reach out and do what they can. So utilize those vendors as part of your toolbox every day, so you can make sure that you can have your best foot forward. I want to say I took away a couple of different things and I'll keep it really short, but I have to say the two things that really stuck out were, Carol, you had mentioned, and I loved, we're physically distant, but socially connected. And I think that is such a great quote. I'm going to keep using that one. And also lean into the scariness. I mean, this is definitely unprecedented times for all of us, and just keeping it real that, you know, there are struggles every day. And so please don't feel afraid that you're struggling or if something's happening. We all have our moments and it's human. So, you know, lean into that. And if you need some assistance, feel free to reach out to any of us for help. And I'm sure somebody's going to be there to give you that helping hand that you need. So I am so grateful for all of your time today. And just as we're wrapping up, I want to just remind everyone, as you're checking out, please be sure to fill out our survey link. We want to make sure that this was definitely informational for you. I know it was for me, but we're always welcome to more feedback any way that we can. And I want to let everyone know, as of right now, because we don't know exactly when we're returning to work, we had thought we were going to be back at Maggiano's, but it's probably looking a less like that. So more than likely, we'll have another webinar format for you for the month of May, and that is going to be scheduled for May 26th. So I can't announce who it is yet, but we will be having some sort of webinar luncheon format for you. So please feel free to check in for that. And I just appreciate all of you taking the time today to join us. So on behalf of BOMA Nevada, thank you.